The summer holidays are ending. Hundreds of thousands of children across Europe and North America are returning to school, and that will be a relief for many parents, including me, who have been juggling childcare with a full-time job. Some believe workplace culture and education systems should be changing to meet the needs of modern families. Well, in a moment, I'll be joined by a working mother and author who says we need to have a more honest conversation about this issue. But first, I want to take you back to 1958.
And what about the wives these breadwinners have left behind them? What is happening in our world? Do we also welcome each day as an excitement and a challenge? Are we happy in our homework?
No, not at all. No.
No.
There are certain things which are much harder than others, and I try and do one big thing each day.
You mean you turn out a room, or?
Well, I do all the vacuum cleaning one day, all the washing another day, all the ironing another day. I think being a mother is probably one of the loneliest jobs in the world, and I do very much miss the companionship of work, of office life. Sometimes I feel like putting my coat on and just getting the next train abroad and just leaving everything.
We just thought that clip might surprise you from 1958 of that mother. Obviously a lot has changed since then. Many women no longer have to choose between having a career or children, but it's still an incredibly stressful and challenging period in many women's lives. Armstrong has 3 daughters and is the author of a new book, The Mother of All Jobs: How to Have Children and a Career and Stay Sane-ish. I love the title, Christine-ish. The average working day has changed. The way we work has changed. What kind of problems and stress is this causing?
So in the last 20 years, focusing on the UK, but it's the same in other markets, we've gone from a place where we were more likely to have one earner out in the workforce and somebody based at home, working about an average of a 7-hour job, a 7-hour day. And now in professional jobs, what we've got is enormously rising prices, especially around housing. And we're most likely to have 2 parents out if there's a 2-parent household during the day for 9 hours potentially, with commutes, and also this idea that we'll be on in the evening, so answering emails, answering messages, taking calls and so on. And so we've really compressed the amount of available time that we have for family life and our children.
And what effect is this having on women in particular?
Well, it's making them very, very anxious, and one of the things that I sort of set out to explore this book was I had a full-time working job and tried to combine it with one child, found that quite tricky, really quite difficult, more difficult than I expected, and then sort of thinking about what I should do about it, decided to have another one, which you won't be surprised didn't help very much, and then sort of thought, well, there must be people who are able to do this. So I went and interviewed lots and lots of people who seemed able to make it work, and what I found out was that a lot of them were really struggling and feeling quite isolated, actually like your clip from the 50s, not very different, very lonely, rather isolated, and feeling that guilty and sort of stressed out in all different directions, and wanting to feel that they weren't alone with this.
Why do you think, Christine, we're not having an honest conversation about this?
I think what I worry about is that sometimes, with the very best intentions, that women who get senior in their organisations, and I've talked to them about this, are then sort of pushed out to be role models for the next generation of women and said, you've done this, how did you do it? And they say things to be loyal to their employer, to give encouragement to other people, that they work very hard, they were very well organised, they got great childcare, all of which are true, but they're not really in a safe place to reveal some of the really difficult challenges that they may have experienced on the way.
What sort of things?
The
guilt, I guess, is a big thing for many
women.
I think
conflict with work is one, not feeling that they are given the flexibility that they need, expectations that they will be always on. A woman that I spoke to who worked at a bank said that her review form said that she would be reviewed on her availability 24/7. So this sort of sense that the pressure from work, their relationship problems, if they're not connecting with their partner, who maybe also is out a lot at work or is at home, and that, both present because there's no time, because you're living mentally in very different places, and also conflict or even disconnection from their children, sort of feeling that they just don't get enough time to be involved in the way they want to.
Yeah, that I know a lot of women feel guilty about that as well. Did you interview women who also felt a bit angry too, that they'd been sold this myth that you can have it all and actually when they came to have it all, it was too hard.
What makes me slightly sad is that so many women turn that on themselves and think the reason they can't have it all is because they're not trying hard enough, or they're not working hard enough, or they're not well enough organised. And what I wanted to sort of say with this book was, no, it isn't you. The system was never designed to work this way, and we need to be honest about that and acknowledge that, because otherwise we can't change it.
So let's talk about how we can change it, because I think there's some fundamental questions here about what kind of society we want to live in too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really, I mean, speaking from a UK perspective, our productivity is actually low, but our hours are very, very high. So we've got this mismatch where people are expected to work these enormous hours, but it's not actually doing us a huge amount of good. So we need to have a much better conversation about how we manage hours. I think one of my sort of bugbears is the word flexibility, which can be very useful and very important, but can also be misused, where I interview far too many people who are working 3-day week, 4-day week, 24 hours, 25 hours or whatever, who are also expected to be always on and not being paid for that. So I think we have to be really careful with terms like flexibility and what we mean by that.
Very briefly, and it's a tough one to answer briefly, what should we be expecting from men?
We should be expecting societal structures to support both parents in work. We need to see families as one, we need to see our own sort of household as one unit, and we need to be able to share tasks. But our social structures at the moment, as you know, still tend to focus responsibility around childcare and maternity and all those things around women, and we need to equalise that.
So many more conversations to be had by lots of people. Christine, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Good to see you.